Imagine this, you're watching this video late at night. The room is quiet, and suddenly, this story pulls you in. So if you're here, stay till the end, because what happened in that Navy headquarters stunned everyone who witnessed it. And if it moves your heart even a little, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories that remind us who real heroes are. No one paid attention to the janitor mopping the hallway. They rarely did. He moved quietly, head down, pushing an old yellow mop bucket with a squeaky wheel. He wore a worn-out uniform with a faded stitched name tag that simply said, Sam. But Sam wasn't just a janitor. Not always. To most, he was just the tired man who arrived early and left late, who sometimes brought his 9-year-old daughter, Lily, because he couldn't afford after-school care. She'd sit in the corner drawing pictures of airplanes while her father worked. She always looked at him the way little girls look at the strongest man in the world. Because to her, he was. But the Navy officers walking the halls, they didn't look twice. Until one day, the Admiral of the Pacific Fleet was visiting the base. A serious man, decorated, respected. The kind of man whose steps echoed authority before he even entered a room. The entire headquarters was gathered in the main hall to brief him on a critical training incident involving a fighter jet failure. Everyone stood stiff, perfect posture, uniforms sharp, polished boots in perfect rows. Except for Sam. He was in the back, quietly cleaning scuff marks from the floor. Lily sat on a folding chair next to his bucket, feet dangling, humming softly. The Admiral listened to the engineer's struggle to explain the mechanical failure. He frowned. He wasn't satisfied. Then, suddenly, he stopped mid-sentence. His eyes drifted to the back of the room. He stared at Sam. No, he recognized him. His expression changed from annoyance, to disbelief, to something like respect. The Admiral stepped forward slowly. The room watched, confused. And then, with a voice that carried through the hall like thunder, he said, Ghost Hawk. The floor seemed to go silent. Air stopped moving. Conversation froze. Every officer turned. Sam, the janitor, didn't move. Not at first. But then he lifted his head. His eyes were calm, steady. The eyes of someone who had seen too much. Lost too much. Lily looked up at her father, confused. A whisper went through the crowd. Ghost Hawk. That can't be, no way, that's a rumor. I heard Ghost Hawk took out 7 enemy aircraft alone, didn't he disappear? Sam gently placed the mop against the wall. Sir, he said quietly. The Admiral stepped closer, his voice softer now. Why didn't you tell them who you are? Sam exhaled, a tired breath that carried 10 years of memory. Sir, I'm not Ghost Hawk anymore. I'm just a dad. Lily's dad. He placed a hand on his daughter's head. The Admiral understood. He knew the story. Everyone in Special Operations did. Captain Samuel Hayes. Call sign, Ghost Hawk. The pilot who executed one of the most impossible rescue missions in modern air history. The pilot who brought his entire squadron home. The pilot who only retired because he lost his wife in a car accident, and chose to raise his daughter alone instead of staying in combat. He gave up everything for her. But the Admiral wasn't here to drag him back into war. He was here because he needed help. Not from Captain Hayes, but from the man who loved so deeply he walked away from glory to become a janitor, just so he could be there every day for the little girl who was his whole world. Sam, the Admiral said softly, the training system we're developing, the young pilots, they need someone who understands what flying truly means. Not just technique, heart. Sam looked down at Lily. Her hand slid into his, tiny fingers curling around his calloused ones. She smiled. Daddy, you can teach them. You're the best pilot ever. Something broke open inside him, something he had buried for years. Not pride, purpose. And so he agreed. Not to return to war. Not to fly in combat. But to teach, to guide, to remind young pilots why they fly in the first place, not for medals or rank, but for the lives depending on them. He arrived the next morning not in a janitor's uniform, but in a flight instructor's jacket. The halls buzzed with whispers. But he didn't care about them. He cared about her. Lily ran to him after every lesson, her backpack bouncing, her drawings of airplanes getting more detailed each day. And Sam, he smiled again, really smiled. Because he had become something greater than a legend. He had become a father with purpose. So if you're still watching this, let me tell you something. Heroes don't always wear medals. Sometimes they wear old janitor uniforms. Sometimes they push mop buckets and walk with tired steps. But inside them, there is a story the world forgot to ask. And sometimes, all it takes is one person calling your name for you to remember who you are. So if this story touched your heart even a little, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and remember, you never know who you're standing next to in life. Treat everyone with respect, because sometimes, the quietest person in the room was once the bravest.